What's up, everybody? I hope you're having a good day. We're having a very good day because it is new t-shirt day. There's no one here. I'm alone. See, we like to drive, you like to drive, but sometimes we drive a little too fast. And that means we're going to meet one of America's fine law enforcement vehicles. But there's a bunch of them. How do you keep track? Well, we've made a shirt that basically shows the species of cop cars. Remember those posters on the wall when you were a kid of dinosaurs and birds and peregrine falcons? It's like that. We call it Predators of American Highways because if you speed and break the law, you get chased and you become the prey and you get a ticket. And before you get all upset and you get triggered and you start getting real mad on the internet about us using the word predator, just relax. It's a joke. Remember jokes? Remember jokes before the internet criticized everything you said? Okay? It's a joke. And we've shown it to cops, CHP officers, friends, family, enthusiasts. Everybody thinks it's funny and they know what it's about. So just relax, okay? Now, we've got these awesome stencil drawings with Latin-ish type names below them. Help you keep track of what you're seeing. Cars like the Hontus Mirorius, the thing you see in all of your rearview mirror nightmares. Got the Toughest Imperium. Then there's the Officerus Obscurus, which is the Chevy Caprice, basically the automotive version of a king snake and a coral snake. And then finally, the Investigator Citationist. Now, we're selling them in 3 colors. The fabric's really, really soft, and the fit is very good. Just for reference, this is a large, and I am 5'10", about 170 pounds. If you're European, this would be considered a quad XL, okay? They're only going to be on sale for 2 weeks, from July 25th to August 8th. So hit the link in the description, go to our Teespring store, and help support the people that make the content you enjoy for free, okay? Once again, only on sale for 2 weeks, from July 25th to August 8th. 3 colors, funny shirts. We're stoked about them. Help support us. Thank you for watching.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. This episode of the Smoking Tire Podcast is brought to you by StockX, and I have been obsessed with watches for the last couple years, and if you like watches the way I do, you've got to know about StockX. It is the world's first online stock market of things for high-demand consumer products, including sneakers, watches, and handbags. StockX connects buyers and sellers using the same methodology as the world's stock markets, an anonymous, live bid-ask market. All products are physically authenticated by StockX, allowing participants to focus on the transparency of data available, including real-time market pricing, in-depth market analysis, individual portfolio tracking, historical sales, and volume metrics. That means no stressing about shady buyers and sellers, no lengthy descriptions, and no blurry pictures to decipher. All you have to worry about is finding the watch you want and placing a bid you feel comfortable with. StockX makes buying and selling watches online a lot better. Give it a try yourself at StockX.com/smoking. That's StockX.com/smoking. Oh man, think about all the weird things that you find in your cars. I'm talking about old fast food, used baby diapers, things like that. Oh man, but what about something else that makes you wonder? How about, in a good way, Continental belts and hoses? They are OE in tens of millions of Chrysler, Dodge, Ford, and GM vehicles that roll off the assembly line. They're also OE on the majority of BMWs and Volkswagens. Now Continental is launching the aftermarket Multi-V belt with the OE pedigree. It's their OE technology series, belts that are fanatically engineered for perfect fit, form, and function, and Continental has an OE technology series Multi-V belt for 98% of the vehicles on the road in the US and Canada. Hey, you get enough surprises working on cars and trucks. A belt shouldn't be one of them. Go with the Continental OE Technology Series Multi-V belt, the belt with the OE pedigree. To get the full story, visit oetechnologyseries.com. And this week in the studio, we're drinking Beeline coffee, the Smoking Tire Roast 2.0, the roasted tire, the one with my Safari 911 on the bag. That's the new ish, folks. High altitude, single origin coffee. It is delicious. It's got good caffeine in it. It really gets you going too. But it smells great. It tastes great. Whether you're talking about a brew coffee machine or an AeroPress, something like that, it works in all those ways. Use code TST to get 15% off anything in the Beeline Coffee store, including the Smoking Tire Roast, or a subscription plan for up to a year of coffee coming at you. That's BeelineCoffee.com. Code TST, 15% off anything in the store. Okay, this episode will be a little bit different. Last week, I was invited up to the California Auto Museum in Sacramento to give a Q&A moderated by Todd English of Luxury Motor Cars. And so I go through some of my history, the history of the company. There's questions from the fans. It's about 90 minutes long. The California Automobile Museum is a beautiful, charming little museum. They're trying to raise money to get climate control going in there, so you can donate by visiting, or if you like the talk and want to support the cause, calautomuseum.org. So here is 90 minutes of myself with luxury motor cars specialist Todd English at the California Auto Museum in Sacramento. Enjoy.
This place is cool. Thank all these guys for having me out. This is a really neat museum. Nice to find it. Now I can, that was weak. Let's go. Although, so Delta said what? Heat, cold, and rain?
Yeah.
There's a fourth. You saw
What's
it.
that? Oh, yeah.
Heat, cold, rain, and ramp. Because this was amazing. The Tetris of Lego blocks to get this up
Absolutely.
that dumb ramp. And, you know, I had to tell them, like, listen, the cars aren't getting higher. The museum cars, so we need to have another, fix the ramp so you can drive a sports car up at Fund.
Well, it was my idea
That
to
was
bring the F40
crazy.
here, and I got Greg Wilson, the owner of Luxury Motor Cars, front and center, and he's probably just cursing me the whole time as he's in the car working the clutch going, yeah, great idea, Todd.
What does an F40 clutch go for these days? Who knows? Anybody? Woo!
More than I want to
Because
pay.
I smelled about a 20% burn on that. And in fact, if somebody wants, as he was doing that, I was reading the date code on those tires. So Paul Walker, who was a friend of mine, died in a car that had 10-year-old tires on it. Those tires are 14 years old. I wouldn't drive on them shits. Sorry, I'm sorry. I try to keep it PG tonight. I have a bad habit of using dirty words.
So, Matt, tell us about some of your early influence. Like, who were your early influences for your love of the automobile?
So I didn't like books very much. That's changed. I like books now. I want to be educated now. I read car magazines. I had all of them. I had Automobile, I had Car and Driver, I had Road and Track. Wow, does it get way louder if I get this much closer to the mic? Is that a huge difference? Okay, I apologize. The throw on this mic is like here. This is where I have to be. So I had a subscription to this is going to be a challenge, huh? To every single car magazine. And I still have most of them. There's like a bunch of shelves in my house, like full of these things. And the biggest thing, my first ever car magazine, it was a Car and Driver, and had the DeLorean on the cover.
Okay.
I don't know about you guys. Who loves Back to the Future, right? Everybody, right? And so, especially if you're born in the 80s, or the 70s or the 80s, you love Back to the Future. But I always managed to separate the DeLorean from Back to the Future. I was able to appreciate the DeLorean for what it is, right? Which is a beautiful car that doesn't drive very well, but it looks great. And you really just you look at it in the garage and drink beer and go, yeah, that looks good there. They have one over in this museum, and you go, yeah. Right there. That's where you should stay. But even though I could separate my love of Back to the Future and my love of DeLoreans, I could compartmentalize that. Rest of the world, nope. And
So tell us about the DeLorean that you own, that you recently sold.
yeah, so this is the car I wanted, right? So there's a rabbit hole, and I found it was a barn find. Yay, barn find! It wasn't a barn, it was a storage unit find in San Pedro, California. And so the guy, it's a fun story about this car, because this guy bought this DeLorean, and it had I had all the receipts from when it was new. He bought it for $26,500 plus a $3,000 additional dealer markup. And it went back 3 times in the first 6 months because the air conditioning failed.
Big surprise,
He
right?
clearly got and by the way, the car was first sold in late '84, so like well after DeLorean went out of business. This car was sold at an ADM, which is nuts. he obviously was instantly upside down on his loan. And I know that because I have the default notice with the records. But he locked this thing up, and nobody ever found it. And I'll tell you what, Tony won because the bank went out of business. I don't think he ever paid them. Right? So we found this car, and everything was there. It was literally like ran when parked, indoors, and some the headliners had to be replaced and everything rubber and blah blah blah,
Sure, it just wears
restored.
out, yeah.
But it was all there. The glass was as clear as that 911. I mean, really amazing stuff. And I put an obscene amount of money into it. And then ultimately what happened is what happens when anyone puts money into a DeLorean. It doesn't drive as good as you thought it was gonna before you put the money into it. Because DeLoreans don't drive good, not because they don't have enough power, because you can easily get that. They don't drive good because they have 14-inch wheels, which means they have 11-inch brakes. And they have single piston 11-inch brakes that cannot be upgraded, okay? So that's just it. They just have the worst brakes ever. So it doesn't matter how much power you put into them, you're stuck with that. So,
Which probably explains why you never see a DeLorean with aftermarket wheels.
well, you don't see them with aftermarket wheels because anyone who tries finds out instantly that they look horrible. It's an unrimmable car. You cannot put rims on it because it just looks ridiculous. It has to go with those wheels. And even DMC tried to do a 17-inch version of the wheel to get a bigger brake on. Got very excited, pre-ordered a set, and they looked so stupid. And that was that.
It just didn't work with the car, huh?
No, it doesn't work. So it relegates a DeLorean to a cruiser status. But Bring a Trailer was kind to me, and I sold it to somebody in Munich for way more money than I spent. So victory. And I've seen pictures of it. People have sent me pictures. The guy's in Bavaria. He sent me Lederhosen when I got the car, which was so nice of him. But he definitely was like not a fan because they were a size medium, which is... but he was very nice, and people have sent me pictures. Apparently, he drives it around Germany on the Cali tags.
Well, that's got to be a really weird car to see in Germany, I would think.
People in Germany are buying cool stuff. If anyone been to Germany recently, you see people are bringing weird stuff to Germany. I saw like an 80s Cadillac limo over there recently. I saw a C3 Corvette. People, I was in Monaco for the Grand Prix. Somebody brought like an 89 Cadillac Fleetwood, like one of the front wheel drive ones with that awful 4.9 motor. Like someone probably spent like $35,000 or $40,000 to like bring this thing to Monaco. Like I don't get it, but
That'd be a scary car on the Autobahn.
No, it's good for Monaco. You go 2 in Monaco.
True that.
So one of the worst places you could ever drive a sports car is Monaco. It's awful. It's just traffic everywhere.
And you see these outrageous cars all over Monaco.
Yeah, supercars in traffic. That's all Monaco is. And somehow Lewis Hamilton still managed to crash there. I don't get it.
So, Matt, tell me, at what point in your life did you think, okay, this whole car obsession is going to be here for a while. It's going to be part of my life for a while, if not forever.
Well, I mean, as I'm sure many people here can relate, if you start with a magazine when you're 5, by the time you're 10 and your father indulges you with a go-kart, which mine did, it's pretty much a lock, And if I, at that point, had declared that I wanted to like race karts competitively, my dad probably would have gone along with it, but he got me like a fun kart that I drove like in the dirt and stuff like that. So it was always about, when you're a fat kid, and you can't run very fast, but you go to the local go-kart track and you're winning, you see opportunity. Or I'm projecting that onto others. I saw opportunity. And then also, as you start to drive real cars and start to try different cars, maybe you're the kind of person that appreciates the subtle nuance of a different car.
So did you go from go-karts into any kind of racing once you got into real cars? Have you ever raced cars?
Now as an adult, yeah, I didn't do my first real race until like 3 years ago or something. As a kid, it was racing go-karts, and then just my friends and I, actually, it's not true. My friends and I would drag race on the weekends. It was weird. I went to like the Jewiest private school ever, but I hung out with like the white trash kids. And so we worked on Mustangs, and we went up to, my friend lived like in the woods, and his dad was a mechanic, and we all worked on our Mustangs. That was the thing. So we'd go to the drag strip, Englishtown in New Jersey, famous drag strip, and Island Dragway, which is the super hick one in Pennsylvania. And yeah, we'd run, 14s in our Mustangs and feel cool. And then when I graduated from high school, my dad got me, Skip Barber gift certificate, and then that was the love of road racing and road courses began. Do track days, people, if you can.
Well, there's a lot of people in this audience that do track days on a regular basis. I'm
and you guys racers here? Do we have racers? I've raced with a couple of you guys, racers. They're all in the back. The racers at the VIP tables in the back. They can afford to go racing with the table purchases.
So being an East Coast guy, what made you move out west?
Sunshine's free and weed's legal, man. It's a joke, but it's completely true. It's completely fucking true. No, look, YouTube, look at my equipment, right? YouTube is such a low rent medium that even if you're doing it on a budget, weather is a problem. And so it only took, the very second, because when we first started, we had a paying job. Someone, believe it or not, in 2007, before the economy crashed, they would literally pay you a salary to do what I do, which is absolutely laughable today. But when that ended and it was like, wow, we're going to have to fund this, ourselves, an 8-month season was not an option. And a lot of people who ask me, how do I do the thing that you do? The first thing I did was I packed my stuff and I moved to California. I recognized that was going to be an issue and a thing, and car culture was in California, and good weather was in California, and back east you couldn't book a Corvette press car in January. That doesn't happen. But here it's December. You want to get a GT2? Okay, whatever. So a lot of people are like, I live in Ohio and I want to do what you do, and the first thing I say is move, and they're just really unhappy with that recommendation. But especially even though we live in such a virtual world, cars are so real. You have to be there. You just do. So yeah.
I stated earlier that you've tested over 1,000 cars, driven over 1,000 different cars. Does one really stand out in your mind of all the different cars you've driven? There are certainly a few standout experiences. It would be very, very difficult. I'm super spoiled, and so it would be really hard to pick one. Before I ever did the gig, I drove a McLaren F1 for 5 minutes, which is as awesome as you think it would be, even if you're just tooling around a neighborhood for 5 minutes. One of my all-time favorite cars, for sure.
The best. The best. It's one of those cars where someone goes, "These are trading for $10 million now," and you go, "I get that." That makes a lot of sense. I once push-started Jay Leno's McLaren F1 at the top of the Snake in Mulholland. It only took like 2 people to do it too. It was so light. Awesome. You could it was like pushing nothing. It was unbelievable. There's a thing called a Hennessy Venom GT, and most people make fun of John Hennessy for this car because it kind of looks like a Lotus, and it's based sort of on a Lotus, although technically it's much more Daytona prototype than it is Lotus. Actually, it's really a Lotus tub with the extruded front and rear subframe sections of a Penske-based Daytona prototype, and then all bonded together. It's actually really, really, really nuts, this thing. Most people don't give John nearly enough credit for developing this car, which drove so good. And I had Steven Tyler bought one, the Aerosmith singer.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, so it was the Spider, no top, it was black, and it was 1,200 horsepower.
So where did you drive that car?
I drove it on the street, and it was the scariest thing I've ever driven on the street. And it was long enough ago. I think I did 165 in a 45, which was because I got in trouble because it uses Ford GT gear ratios. If anyone knows offhand what red line in 4th gear is in a Ford GT, that's what it was. And I set it I didn't say the speed, but I said that's whatever in whatever gear, and apparently enough people figured out the math. They had to edit that out. And then I took the same car to a runway, and we were doing 0 to 200 in 15 seconds, which is really, it's really
Super
wild.
impressive.
And with the top down, no roof.
Now, is that car
And
still
furthermore,
available?
That's scary. I had a rig, so these GoPros are nothing. Before GoPro came out with the 4s and then the 5s, when GoPros still kind of sucked, they're really good now. We had a thing called a triangulation rig, which is a DSLR. It's a Canon 5D Mark II with a 50 millimeter lens on a 6-inch suction cup, okay? And then coming out of the top, the hot shoe was a rod with 2 knuckles, and then rods that would go down to 2 other 6-inch suction cups. And you would triangulate it by making the triangles. It was like really, really rigid and hard. So I had, and that 200 mile an hour Hennessy thing, I had one of those mounted outside the windshield directly in front of my face. Like right, so it's like literally, here. Okay, you're gonna go 200 miles an hour on this runway. Let's just put this here, just right there. And
oh my God.
So you have to pretend like it's not there while looking around it. You know, it was wild. And then you're going 200 and you're seeing this thing start to go, and you go, this is gonna go well. It went okay. But if you were to go back and look at that video, there's a shot that is, it's like, well, how would you get that? And it's like by putting a huge rig right in front of my face. That's how. Sketchy. Actually, you want to? I'll tell you the sketchiest filming I ever did. I made a video with a V12 Vantage S. It was yellow, and my cameraman Thaddeus always has really good ideas. No, he does. Sometimes they're fucking horrible. But this one, we wanted to do it all at night. This car was like, it was so yellow. It was the most yellow it could be, like glittery, sparkly, crazy yellow. So we went out to the canyons in the middle of the night, and it's really dark up there. And we brought a generator and lights, and I had a minivan at the time.
This is the same road that you do your one takes on.
This is the same road I drive on, but this is at night. I've literally never been up there at night, ever. Because why? So we're up there, we're by ourselves. We mount 2,000 watt lights on the back of my minivan, running into the van, which has a gas generator running inside of it, strapped to the floor. The minivan doors are open. There are also...
That sounds safe.
There are also, there's a cameraman out the sunroof. There's another, the hatch is open. We have the lights sort of on the side. The hatch is open. There's another shooter in the back with a tripod. They're leading, I'm following. They have literally brighter than headlights shining directly in my face. I can't see anything. And we're going like 35 or 40. To get these shots, I have to be, 4 feet or less off the bumper of a car in front of me. Really, really, really close. So close that if you were in the car with me, you'd probably be terrified. And it was so shady. I was blinded for hours. Like I was seeing spots. I couldn't do a bunch of the shots because I was so blind. And the cops showed up while we were taking the rigging down. And they were like, what are you guys doing? And we're like, just getting some shots. And they're like, did you see a guy in a black Outback come by? And we're like, no. And they're like, cool, have a good night. And that was that. And it was, gives me chills thinking about how sketchy that was. Don't ever drive with spotlights mounted off the back of a car. It's just a common sense thing, but
So Matt, tell us, as Matt Farah fans, what is something you wish your fans knew about you that they may not?
Something that people I wish people knew about me. I sold shoes for 6 years before I started. Can lace a pair of Jordans in under 60 seconds, straight up. Won the Northeast Champ Sports Regional Olympics by lacing Jordans faster than anybody else. That's sadly true. That was 1998. I don't know. The thing that I'll rephrase your question, because I think
fair enough.
I think the Jordans thing really is the thing that I want everybody to know about me. But I see where you're going. How how do you get the job I have is a big one I get all the time.
Probably get that all the time.
And aside from moving to California, the other answer I have is learn Adobe Premiere Pro. And nobody wants to hear that either, because they want to hear like some glamorous story of me talking some schmuck into giving me the keys to his F50 or something. But the truth is, video editing, when you do what I do, is the single most valuable skill you can have. Because on the one hand, your ability to be a one-man show, as I am, and make changes on the fly and do things like that on the fly. And also, if you're a video editor, it makes you a much better host. I became a way better video host once I could no longer afford an editor and had to learn how to edit myself. Now, the good news is I had been watching an editor for a while. You know, I knew what a good end product was supposed to look like, and I just didn't know the mechanics of the machine.
So was a learning curve pretty steep, learning that software?
No, it's not that bad, actually. Editing software looks really complicated, but it's not that hard, I swear. It's just really advanced copying and pasting. That's it. Moving things and copying and pasting. Like, it's really easy and chill, and it's an extremely valuable and lucrative skill right now to have in my industry. A lot of people will ask me, can I get an internship or can I help with something? I don't have a something. But if you show up and say, I'm a cameraman, here's my reel, or I'm a video editor, now we can have a conversation about employment. So that's another thing that a lot of people don't necessarily ask about, but I end up telling people, is that video editing is an incredibly valuable skill.
So tell me a little bit about like some of the equipment that you use. Being a one-man show that you just stated, do you have a lot of equipment, or is there? No.
Actually, so YouTube has gotten, as I'm sure any of you who watch YouTube, in the beginning of YouTube, like I think he said in the intro, I made my first video like 3 months after YouTube started. In the beginning of YouTube, we all were like super, super convinced that it was gonna be the new TV. We were so, because Netflix was still like mailing DVDs to your house at this time. You know what I mean? I'm not sure what year Netflix started streaming, but this was well before that. And so we were convinced that this was gonna be the new thing. And so there was nothing in between like Top Gear and Motor Week, you know, and while we clearly couldn't make Top Gear, we watched and analyzed Motor Week. And we actually literally put on an episode of Motor Week and went, okay, from 1 to 2 seconds, it's this shot, 2 to 4 seconds, this shot, 4 to 8 seconds, this shot, and literally shot for shot for shot, made a spreadsheet of Motor Week. And we were like, we can make that shit in our garage. And so we did. And we started by doing that. Just me and one other dude just making it in our garage. And we had one big, it was kind of like a Panasonic HPX, which is sort of a bigger camera. And we only had this one camera, and we'd like mount it outside the car, like the dumbest stuff. But that was it. And then we added gear.
What year are we talking here?
2007, 8, 7. Now it's 99% GoPro. GoPros are good. GoPros have gotten really good, and YouTube is a volume model now. It's not a quality model. Oh, the end of that other story is that the TV thing didn't pan out. Netflix and then all the network streaming apps we have now are what happened, and YouTube became, the McDonald's. The McDonald's of the...
Absolutely.
And so my one-take series that I did for a while, which was like unedited videos, I did like 600 of them in 2 years. That was like my sort of blowback from the death of produced content. It was like, all right, you guys don't want to pay for a subscription thing, which is sort of what happened with the Drive network, and I don't want to beg you for money with a Patreon. So what if we ditch music, and what if we ditch editing, and what if we ditch everything? Would anyone watch that?
Keep it simple formula.
Yeah, and it turns out people did, and it turns out that when you remove all that, the only thing that really separates me from a lot of other people is that I can do this I can do it without editing. A lot of people, if you take away the editing, it doesn't turn out so good, which is fine. That's how production has worked for years and years and years. But the ability to ramble for 15 minutes without sounding like a complete moron without any editing at all, and then do it 650 times, I guess is, if I have a talent, I guess that's it.
So do you ever, Matt, look at your comments from some of your YouTube viewers, and do you ever take those comments to heart and maybe make modifications or changes to your style or your format?
You try not to. You really shouldn't. Words without accountability, I think YouTube, you should have to use your real name, like Facebook, honestly. But I use, it's very one-sided. I'm the real me, and you're maybe not the real you. No, comments are anecdotal, and numbers are data. And on the internet, you should only follow the numbers, because if your video gets 100,000 views, maybe it gets 1,000 comments, and maybe 10 of those are negative. So you're now talking 1% of 1%.
Right.
So it's like, do you care about those angry if you 100,000 people, it's like if you had a concert and you sold out Wembley Stadium and 3 dudes were like, I'm leaving, this sucks. Fuck off, get out of here, and blocked, but yeah, anyone who performs is going to have insecurities, and anyone who performs authentically is going to present their insecurities to everybody else. And in a world full of comment sections, people are going to find ways to exploit those insecurities.
Sure.
So you have to have a thick skin, and I don't always have a thick skin. I try, and I say mean shit to people on the internet sometimes. I'm not perfect. But I'm the chairman of Can't Get Fired Productions. What am I going to do, get fired from YouTube for telling some guy to fuck off on the comments? Like, nah, I'm here. Go away. Like, it doesn't matter. That's the best part about it. It's like, I can't get fired unless I did some like crazy, PewDiePie, some Nazi stuff or something. I don't know. I'm a Jew, so I'm not too worried about it, Jews can't get fired off media. Now we reach the conspiracy section of the Q&A.
So Matt, tell us about the road that you do your one takes on.
Yeah.
How far is that from where you live?
Far. It's like an hour and a half. It's in the mountains north of LA, the Angeles National Forest.
You're there, 4 days a week?
No, I'm there 1 day a week, maybe a day every other week. And I change the day, and I change the location, and I choose roads based on what I think will complement a car. We're so spoiled in LA. I mean, we have, let's see. No, it's not spoiled, because it's a fair trade, because we have the worst, most annoying traffic ever. And it sucks your life away. And at the other end of the spectrum, we have a couple of 100 miles of roads that don't go anywhere and don't serve anything besides people who want to go back and forth at speed.
Like people in this room right now.
Like everybody here, yeah. I mean, if you guys have come down to LA, the Angeles National Forest beckons, but don't cross the double yellow, because I'll kill you. There's the English automotive journalists and English YouTubers and people from over there have a dirty, dirty habit of crossing double yellow lines. It's like how they roll in Europe. Like, I don't know why in Europe they think people have X-ray vision, but it's some scary stuff if you ride with some of these dudes.
So when you do your one takes, how quickly is that on the internet for the world to see after you've shot it?
Well, so the key of making YouTube is to have a regular schedule and keep to it, right? So when you're by yourself and making 4 videos a week, right? You're not going to go out. I'm not going to drive an hour and a half each way to make one video. That doesn't make any sense. So most of the time throughout the production, I would schedule 5 or 6 cars at a time to meet me out there. And I'd go out at like 6 in the morning, and I'd go dunk, 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 dunk. And then I would go home around 1 o'clock, and I could edit all 6 of those videos in one day. So now I've worked for 1 day, and I have a week and a half worth of content out of that day. And I would trickle those out one at a time. And that would leave the rest of the days to do television or write for somebody or, whatever. And so it's, to be like a content creator in 2018 is about about extreme time micromanagement, It's tricky. You have to It's like, okay, the average video brings in 240,000 views, and so that is $450. Okay, so how much time have I put into that? You know, because the entire first half of my career and what I see a lot of other people doing is they do half the math. They go, wow, this video brought in $1,000, and it's like, you just spent 3 days editing that. You know,
your time's worth. What's your time
You're
worth?
shooting on a $6,000 camera, and you bought a dinner, and you paid a cameraman, and it's like, good job, homie. You just got 300,000 views and are negative $500. Nice.
Way to go.
You know, and so that's just sort of not how YouTube is set up. YouTube is set up to just, when I have to use a real car and I'm competing against a guy who's using an Xbox, that's a tough market. But I have more fun because I do it for real.
So the other days of the week, you're probably working on your podcast.
Smoking Tire Podcast.
So
anyone listen to the
tell us-
podcast? Anyone? Like 4 people?
Yeah.
Hey.
So tell us, Matt, you probably have a very memorable, crazy
Can we work
guest.
on the heat one first? I know we need to work on the heat one first, Delta. You guys need to chip in for the air conditioning in this
Maybe
B.
get a fan angled over here,
Yeah, I know.
maybe?
The rain thing has been sorted. Next has got to be heat. I'm sitting in this spotlight. I'm schwitzing. I'm schwitzing up here. Sorry, where were we?
He's trying to duct it over here. So the question was, do you have what was the craziest guest you've ever interviewed?
Oh, craziest? What about craziest? We've had some good celebrities. I mean, the good thing about the podcast is actually it's not to me about doing like interviews necessarily. The best part, I mean, that's the nature of the business, is you bring industry people in, and it's fun to hang out with these guys in the long format. You know, we're not pressured or anything like that to race through a segment or, oh yeah.
Now we're talking.
Whatever just happened, I really like it.
Thank you, that guy back there.
That's fire. Yeah. Is that from that big tube? Oh, I'm so sorry to all of you guys. Whatever. You guys got it for like the first 40 minutes. Yo, it's my turn, son. It's, you know, the best podcasts for me are the ones where we get to hang out with my friends and laugh about the sort of behind the scenes moments of the production, because you have to be so like, especially with TV, it's all like, don't give away the thing and don't tell them about that funny thing that happened. And so, you know, it's always nice to like, especially when those episodes like came out of the NBC show, just to relive those moments. But I don't know. I just like bullshitting, you know. This is the best part about the podcast is it's exactly the same thing that happens at my dinner table. There's just a microphone there. So that's the best thing. And I was talking, I love radio.
A lot of car talk around the dinner table?
I love doing radio. Like, I love the medium. Anyone like Opie and Anthony here? Is there an Opie and Anthony fan? Like 3 people? All right. So they were like, that was my radio show. Those guys, they're from New York. This is a West Coast crowd, so I'm not surprised nobody knows them. But they were a big East Coast. They were like the other end. It was like Howard Stern versus Opie and Anthony kind of thing. So they were sort of my influence. But I spent a lot of time like commuting, to jobs I hated in the early 2000s. I listened to a lot of morning radio, and that became a good medium. Radio's fun. If anyone out there's into watches, I do a podcast called Watch and Listen, also about watches, if you're into that. It's a video podcast also, so I realize watches would be a terrible audio only show, but it's a video show, so don't worry about it.
So the question I want to ask you, you've probably been asked this before, but this audience has probably never heard the answer. If you could have one car for the rest of your life.
GT3 RS.
Okay, that was easy.
9972, which would be the 2010-11 GT3 RS, which to me is a car that needs no modification. 4.1, Sharkworks, stroker. Yes, definitely. Definitely add the $60,000 stroker engine option while you're at it. Throw that in since we're talking about it. No, but I mean, all the newest like supercars are just so crazy. Like, even I am like, what am I supposed to do with this? You know, I just had the 720S McLaren, which they say is 700 horsepower. It's definitely 800 horsepower. And it's like 3,000 pounds, and it's a crazy missile. And then I dailied it. No problem. No problem. Not a thing about my life was sacrificed daily driving a McLaren for a week. For the first time ever, actually. This is the best car I've ever made. But you go on the canyons, and you're maintaining. I mean, when I don't want to say that. You're maintaining a speed. Your average speed in the canyons. Your average speed in a car like that would be somewhere between 3 and 4 times the speed limit. Your average speed. That's how fast that car can go. And I can't believe they sell those things to just anybody. That's nuts that they do that. Because I've seen some really, really bad driving at track days, and it's like, oh, you have a lot of money. Boy, are we in trouble when you buy a 720S. But for me, GT3 RS 997, it's the right size. It's got the right power, kind of the right look, the right setup. That's where
usable,
I'm gonna go.
reliable,
yeah, reasonably
yeah.
usable. Air conditioning, that kind of stuff. I used to be about power to weight when I was younger. Now I'm a little more about a solid build quality. You can make anything go faster, but you really can't unshitbox something. If something starts as a shitbox, it's pretty much a shitbox for life.
True that.
I got a '88 Fox Body Mustang. There was one here. There's a convertible in the back. Any Fox Body people here? Yeah, about the same as Opie and Anthony people. It's a crossover audience, and I dumped like 40 grand into a Fox Body. It's got a chassis from a 2004 Cobra underneath an '88, and I was like, I'm gonna make this thing awesome, and it handles awesome and whatever. But it's the rattliest piece of shit. And I bought an '89 Skyline. I have an '87 911. They're all the same cars. They're all from the same years. And it's shocking what they were doing in Germany and Japan while they were building this piece of crap. And so I've got this nostalgia thing for Fox Bodies, but it is truly offensive what America was dumping on the public in the '80s. A Skyline, to drive a 1990 Skyline now, like a clean one that's like stock, feels fundamentally the same as a brand new BMW 335. Same slickness, same pace, same great steering feel, you know what I mean? Same kind of tightness. Anyone who has experience with a G-Body 911 knows that it's like thunk, and it's like, oh, that was made well, man, it's like the Princess and the Pea Pebble. You hit that with the Fox Body, and it's like, and I got the best one too. I mean, I have done the work. I have the best one. Still a piece of shit.
So, this Fox Body Mustang, what's the future for that car? Is that something you're going to hold on to, or something you're maybe going to?
No, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to do a giveaway. I'm going to raffle it off because I think a lot of people appreciate that car, and I definitely don't want to deal with selling it and haggling with people. Forget that. And I definitely don't want the guy with the most money to have it. I want it to be a democratic process. Someone should have it that's going to love it. So I'm going to raffle it off, and I don't know you have to consult a lawyer to do this kind of stuff, but it'll be like you buy a sweatshirt and get an entry kind of thing. But I think before the end of this year, I'm going to raffle it off because I'm out of space in my garage, and I have a Safari 911 coming back soon. So
tell us a little bit about this Safari 911.
Who's about Safari 911s? Anybody? Off-road 911 people? They're the best. The best. You do not need all-wheel drive. You need a 911 with a mild lift and BF Goodrich all-terrain tires and mud flaps. This is the most fun vehicle that one can own. And like I was saying, just about the supercars are so fast now. You're tripling the speed limit, quadrupling the speed limit to have any fun. The 720S. It's nice to be sitting in a spaceship, but I wouldn't call it fun, at even up to 80, it's not particularly fun compared to what, hurtling through the stratosphere feels like. But, in California, boy, do we have dirt roads and trails and deserts and shitty tarmac in the cities. I don't know how you guys come to LA. The 405 is my freeway. It is the worst freeway, certainly on the West Coast. FDR Drive, and maybe worse on the East Coast, but on the West Coast, 405 is a disaster. So you want the look of a 911, the sound of a 911, the engine being behind you, so you're sort of pushed along, and that vibration-free experience. And you get all that with a Safari car. It doesn't actually, your handling limits are lower. You're not going to a track day, but at normal driving, it feels totally normal.
It's a totally different kind of fun. Because you can play in the dirt.
It's the easiest car to slide I've ever driven. I tested one, and it's the absolute, hands down, easiest car to slide on loose surface, period. And because, the Widowmaker thing, what happens with a 911 on a racetrack is you get oversteer, you lift, the weight goes forward, and you get the rear tires grip, they catch, and you get a snapback, right? That's your tank slapper, your Widowmaker thing. On loose surface, just no snapback. Slides out, stays there. Just apply throttle, and it's glorious. It's the best thing you could ever drive. And there's a dude named Lee Keane who's building my car. And the most important thing with a Safari car is you have to have a real crazy interior. I'm a big fan of crazy interiors. And most people think like a Pasha is crazy. That's like super amateur hour stuff at this point. I have LA city bus fabric, like the purple and red confetti, vomit resistant fabric. You buy it from these surplus places. It's so badass. It's like UV resistant for 25 years. You can literally just vacuum puke off it or whatever, and it's so magnificently ugly. I just can't wait. If 2 or 3 out of 10 people find it like really offensive, that's about where I want it to be. So the
Matt,
car's cassis red, if any of you guys know what that color is. It's like a mega 80. Yeah, grape soda is about right. It's sort of a transformative color. It picks up the color that the light is that day super, super well. But grape soda lipstick is about where I'd put it. It's very 80s. It's great. It's the best.
So, Matt, what do you think about opening up the questions to the audience at this point?
Anyone got something to say?
Anybody got some questions?
Right here, hands up. Should we give him a microphone?
We have somebody out there with a microphone. Thank you.
I can get. Oh, there we go.
Can you put your hand up again?
There. The $1 Million Mile Lexus. So I have a Lexus LS 400. My first ever car was a LS 400 that was a hand-me-down from my dad. It makes me sound like a total Jewy Westchester snob to say that my first car was a LS 400. It was like 5 years old. It had like 65,000 miles on it. But I love early Lexuses because they built cars like if the cars weren't perfect, they would have to commit seppuku, or something. They were the most, I remember in 92, when my dad came home with that LS 400, and it was like, what is that? This is so much different from anything. It was so quiet. Everything was so soft.
Remember the TV commercials with the
champagne
glasses?
I tried to recreate it, but you actually can't do it properly because they did it on an inclined dyno. And does anyone know of a dyno that inclines? Like I don't know of one. And you'd have to build like a box on the hood, and it just wouldn't be right. I wanted to. So anyway, I found one on Craigslist with 897,000 miles on it. Thank you. In Florida. And I was like, that's almost $1 million. And it really seemed like that was a true statement at the time. That was 4 years ago. Thanks. And I decided that I was going to shepherd this Lexus to 1 million miles. I thought having a car with 1 million miles would be interesting. So right now it's at 980,000. It's taken 4 years to put 83,000 miles on the car. I pass it around to media people and to friends and whoever wants to go on road trips. And I actually can't really drive it. The seat is like, some people don't even notice it, but I've had 2 back surgeries, and it's like the left ass cheek is like an inch lower than the right. If I drive it for more than like 10 minutes, I'm in excruciating pain. So it gets passed around. I bought the car for like $1,200. Super trial by fire with my girlfriend because I bought it. We were on our first vacation together in Hawaii. And I'm like, baby, I bought a car in Florida. It's got 900,000 miles on it. And she's like, great. We'd been together for like 2 months. And I was like, you want to go to Florida? And she's like, when? I'm like, tomorrow. And we went from Hawaii to Florida to drive a completely unknown Lexus back to California. It didn't break. It made
crazy.
it. It made it the whole way. And so now it's at 980K. The plan for assuming it makes it, it's on the original engine, never been opened. Heads have never been off the motor, okay? I spent $1,200 on the car. I've easily spent $10,000 in maintenance in the last 4 years, easily. And that includes, offhand, a $3,700 gearbox rebuild, 2 power steering pumps, 2, maybe 3 alternators, 2 sets of shocks, 2 full sets of brakes, 2 full sets of tires, one water pump, 2 sets of spark plugs, I don't know, dozen oil changes, and a diff. But if the engine blows, the game is over. The engine is its aces, and knock wood, it's never left a single person stranded on the side of the road ever in 87. So shit breaks, and we get it fixed, and we move on. But nothing that is broken has ever left anybody stranded. It's always been like, that's a funny noise, and then we get it fixed. Million. If anyone has a media outlet of any kind and wants to drive it anywhere for any distance, please let me know. Oh. And the final plan is I've been talking with Emirates Airlines. Hey, if anyone ever been to the Middle East here? Anyone spend any time in the Middle East? There's a country called Oman, and I've been there. It's very beautiful. It's like being in the Bible. And at least 50% of the cars in Oman, at least, maybe more, maybe 75, are 1990s era Lexuses. And they replaced all of the diesel Mercedes, right? So diesel Mercedes from the 80s, first they belonged to some relatively wealthy Parisian, then they became a cab in Europe, then they become a cab in the Middle East, and now they're taxis in sub-Saharan Africa, and the Lexuses slide in underneath them. And so, yeah, we're going to bring it to Oman, and we're going to finish the trip in Oman, and then, give it to a goat herder or something. But it's gonna go where all the actual Lexus retirement home, which seems to be Oman. And Emirates is trying to advertise that they're shipping cars now. So Thaddeus, my cameraman who I talked about before, he came up with the night shoot. He lives in Dubai, and he works at a social media agency that works on their thing. So they're shipping Paganis to London for all those crazy sheet oil guys, and they drive around Harrods and act like idiots. But the guy is a fan, and he's because they're advertising that if you fly somewhere, they'll put the car on the plane with you. That's the shtick. So if I want to go to Dubai with the Lexus, it's not like I have to freight it. I buy a ticket and I check it, it goes on. So I'm going with the Lexus. That's the deal. You go together, right? So easily be the shittiest car this airline's ever shipped. And that's the thing. But I'm going business class, baby. They have a bar you stand at and drink free Macallan. It's the best.
We got some more questions out there. I'm sure we do.
Yes. Yes, racetracks. Ooh, favorite racetracks.
Good question.
So the Nürburgring, if you get a chance, is the most memorable racetrack experience that I think one can have. I'm spoiled. I've gotten to go twice. Never in a fast car. But you don't want to go in a fast car. You want to go in a slow car. It's way more fun in a slow car. So I recommend that. In America, Road America in Wisconsin, there's a place called Brainerd. Anyone ever been to Brainerd? Brainerd, Minnesota? Anyone ever been there? Brainerd is a track. It's from Fargo, right? The same Brainerd. And they have a racetrack there that is crazy. It's like one of those tracks like the Glen in the 70s, right? And they have the fastest right-hand corner in North America, which doesn't sound like, well, that's a weird statistic, but it's in a fast car, you know, in a modern exotic or something, it's probably like 160 mile an hour right-hand corner. At the end of, they use their front, the drag strip and the shutdown area as a front straight. So it's 160 mile an hour right-hander into about 130 mile an hour right-hander into a 30 mile an hour right-hander. And the last one, that 30, last I was there, has no guardrail on the outside. He's like, turn 3, that's the one where they die. And it's literally like some Jim Clark shit. You go in the woods, you know, like that's it. And it's just a crazy track that they could never build again. So that's my secret, like, favorite track is Brainerd, if you ever get to go there. One Lap of America runs it like every other year. So that's how I did it. Oh. The Nürburgring is the scariest track. The Nürburgring is the scariest track by far. Okay, outside of the ring, I would say Spa, but Spa is not actually scary. Spa is very wide, it has very good tarmac and very nice curbing. Spa is actually probably the best racetrack. Objectively, Spa is the best racetrack in the world, I think. Most people, drivers would agree with that. Best tarmac I've ever driven on was at Spa. Remove the ring. Do we say scariest? Sonoma is pretty scary, dude. Sonoma's got walls real close. There's really, really close walls there. That's a hairy place if you don't know what you're doing. I think you guys probably drive Sonoma a lot and probably don't appreciate just how scary it is. Turn 8 and 9 at Willow are pretty scary too. But I don't know. I used to be a lot more scared of racetracks. Now I don't let it bother me anymore. You have to kind of get beyond letting the track scare you. But the Nürburgring is scary. Every time I've been to the Nürburgring, I have happened upon a crashed car. Every time. Every lap. Not every time. Every lap of the Nürburgring I've done, I've seen a crash.
How many laps have you done?
10, 12. I've seen cars splayed all around. I did my first wet lap like 3 weeks ago at the Nürburgring. That is the scariest driving I've done probably outside of a race. I did my first night racing, 24 hours of VIR last summer in a chump car, in an E30 that didn't have its normal lights. It had these awful Chinese LED trash, wouldn't even use them as fog lights on your Camry lights. And I did a full 2 hours. I could not wait to get out of the car. I was so happy and I'm never ever gonna race that shitbox at night again.
What was the slow car that you drove at the ring?
I drove a Volvo the first time. A Volvo S40, V40, the hatchback, V40. And then I just did a Renault Megane RS 265, which I really wanted to like, but ultimately, meh. It was very meh. It was. I don't know. Everyone talks about those cars like they're amazing. Meh.
So speaking of meh cars, tell me about a car, Matt, that you were really excited and just hyped to drive, and then you drove it and it just totally let you down.
Oh, it's cold as ice. You know what? He's got a point, though. He does have a point. I did a dumb thing. I've done a couple dumb things. I once traded an Audi S4 for a Hummer H1 straight up. Don't ever do that. And then I also bought a Focus RS sight unseen because I had a Fiesta ST and it was like the best. And I was like, oh, it'll be more of this. And it's not. And I don't know, 10, 12 grand in modifications later, it's okay. I don't love it. If I hadn't leased it, I probably would have sold it, truth be told. But it's not terrible. It's very fast. But overall, I think Ford messed up the ergonomics on that car, so that's underwhelming. What else is underwhelming? The Ferrari 355 F1. Any F1 gearbox from 1995 to 2007. Any of them. Doesn't matter. They're all junk. Every
Agreed.
single one of them.
Totally agree.
I put a manual in my Vanquish. Some blokes some boffins at Newport Pagnell put a manual in my Vanquish. Fixed it.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So, do you guys know how anyone ever take an SMG out of a BMW? It's the same kind of thing. The Aston Martin Vanquish had a Tremec T56. It was a Viper gearbox, actually. And instead of a shifter, there's a little robot that just moves a little nubber through an H pattern. And you'd tug the paddle, it would open the clutch, move the nubber, close the clutch, and that's how it would do it. It was horrible. It was the worst. I mean, at the time, okay, I'm sure this seemed like a pretty advanced system, but if anyone actually knew what it was, no one at the time knew that when you tugged a paddle, all that bullshit happened. It was you thought it was like advanced, not like a robot moving a stupid thing. That's like Capsella or something. And so anyway, it's terrible. And I learned it actually because believe it or not, once before I did the conversion, it was missing third. So you go 1, 2, and you tug the paddle for third, and it would go 4, and it would go into fourth, and you go, well, this makes no sense. And you take it in, and they'd pull up like a Gateway 2000 laptop, and it would show a map of a H pattern, and it would show like that the thing was literally missing the third gear gate, and just move the shifter 2 millimeters to the left. And I go, did you say shifter? What? And they showed this to me. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And so we decided they'll remove all that. They'll take all that out, and you can, and it's a stick now. And they remake the interior. They get rid of all the buttons, and they make it look nice. And I recommend that if you've got a lot of cash burning a hole in your pocket. It's very nice.
Ship your car to England and
you got to ship
get 3
your car to
pedals.
England. Yeah, and it gets 3 pedals. The pedal box is very small. I have to drive it like in driving shoes. That sort of stinks. It's a little pedal box, but
Did that
V12 stick, man. It's awesome.
Did that car ever come with a manual?
Yeah, they made the Vanquish S Final Edition, Europe only. They offered a manual on 100 of those examples. They will not release the number of how many they actually built. But they've done something like 70 conversions out of, I think it's 1,680 cars built, Vanquishes. I think it's 1,680. Someone may check me on that later, but I think that's what it is.
Do you take that car to car shows and like a real car guy goes, hey, wait a minute, this car doesn't supposed to have 3 pedals?
I just drive it around. I keep it in Connecticut where my parents live, and it's lovely in Connecticut. It would be a terrible LA car.
Gotcha.
As many cars are. LA is traffic, or bonsai mountain runs. Cars that are good for cruising, that sort of in between. Your Midwest cars, a West Virginia car, that's not going to work in LA. Very, very, very extreme. Anyone else?
Let's turn back over to the audience.
Oh, Mike. Sorry, he with the stick wins.
Sorry about that. Related to the track question, besides the Angeles Crest and the various Mulholland offshoots, which are great, where's your favorite driving road?
Well, you covered a bunch. So you've got the Angeles Forest, right, which is Angeles Crest Highway and the offshoots of that. My favorite is Glendora Mountain Road, which is east of that. That's the one. GMR is hot. I never film on it because it's just too far from my house and I can't stand it. But GMR is great. And then if you go up north of me, by Six Flags, Lake Hughes Road is one that nobody knows about. Well, not nobody, but that one has an open section where you can go like deep triple digits in a fast car, and then it tightens and goes down into a canyon. We're so spoiled. I can drive these different roads like all the time, and we're so spoiled with them.
So that last road you mentioned that's by Six Flags, is that up in like what we call the Grapevine? Is up in
Not
that mountain
that
range?
far.
No,
Santa
okay.
Clarita area.
Okay.
Santa Clarita, Valencia area. Lake Hughes Road, which I strongly recommend if you're in that area. It's fire, that road. A little bumpy. If you got a very stiff car, it's going to be tough. But I use that road to sort out chassis, sort out suspensions. I have roads that are bumpier that I like where I want to make a car like get pissed off. So that's the beginning section of that is one of those. 2 words, electric cars. Oh, electric cars are great. So I had a Volt for like 2 years, and it was the best car ever. It was like the best ownership experience I've ever had in the cities, in LA, in traffic. An electric car, like when you get to your destination, I don't know, I was more relaxed. I was actually more relaxed when I arrived, because I think a lot of people don't think about the vibrations and the harshness of a just even a basic gas car. And electric cars with the regenerative braking, which is very smooth, and with the electric power, which is very smooth, I was like less stressed. And in my Volt that I had for 2 years, I think I burned 70 gallons of gas in 2 years. It's not very much. I think it was like 5% of the time I was on gas. And I drove to Vegas once and San Francisco once from LA. So like, and the Teslas are fun to drive too, to a point. Anyone who's ever tried to drive one on hard will find it to be very lacking, but in the city, they're great. Who's that dude Ryan? Who's that guy at Sonoma who tracks the Model 3? Guy around? Is he here by any chance? There was a dude we saw at Sonoma who was like, I have track records for electric cars in like 3 tracks, and I was like, that sounds so terrible. Because they're just not good to drive on racetracks. They're just not. But dude, as everyday cars, they're sweet. If people ask me if they live in urban environments and they have somewhere to plug one in at home or at work, I always will throw that out there, especially given the current subsidies and stuff. Actually, there's a ton of value in like a used Volt, like a 2014 Volt is like 10 grand, and it'll be an awesome car. But in general, electric cars are sweet. We need a massive infrastructure shift if we're going to deal with them en masse. You know what I mean? They need gas stations need to be installing charging stations at their gas stations. I mean, I think that's super, super logical. Like, our whole society and transport is built around the gas station system. It's not being built around having to drive home or having to stop at a mall or having to go to some random ass place to charge. You know, like a lot of our miles are commuting miles, but ultimately, if it's going to be en masse, we are definitely going to have to get some infrastructure happening with regarding electric cars. But they're fun, man. They're pretty fun to drive, actually. The electric power band is pretty neat. Yeah.
Any other audience questions out there? I see some hands up.
Where is YouTube going? Directly into the toilet. No, you know what's funny is I don't really know. I'm real pig-headed. I'm real stubborn. There are a bunch of things I could do in YouTube to grow my channel, to get more, to do more. I get contacted by people that are like, here's a new way to engage with your audience. I was like, is there a way I can make money without engaging more? Because I'm pretty fucking engaged, and I'd really like to take a step back at this point. I'm sorry, this is probably not the answer you want. I'm parking cars, legit. I bought a piece of dirt in a really great area, and I am building a ground-up collector car storage place, and I'm parking collector cars. And the idea of that is to eject myself slightly from that need to make more and give more. Because when you give your shit away for free, nothing is ever enough, ever. You give them Gymkhana, and they're like, bro, Gymkhana 8 came out last week. When's 9, bro? When's 9? You know what I mean? It's like you give away something amazing, and it's still not enough, you know? So I love writing. I get to write for Road and Track. That's awesome. I really enjoy doing that. My new thing, after spending 15 minutes with 600 cars, my new thing is spending a week or a month with the car and really engaging with that car. That is not a YouTube-friendly model. Unfortunately, it's not. But some kind folks at Road and Track and thedrive.com have offered to pay me to write in addition to doing a little video, and so that actually recovers, for me. Where is the industry going? Dude, I don't know. Video games, straight up, I can't believe that people watch videos of other people playing video games. That, to someone who's 36, that is crazy. That is so crazy. But people do it, man. They fill stadiums for video game tournaments, so what the hell do I know? I'm just trying to keep driving cars and, you know, and do it at a pace that I don't hate it, you know? Imagine being like a kid, you know, and your dad catches you smoking a cigarette. You're like, so you like smoking, huh? Here's a carton. We're going to sit here until you finish it. You know, that's me in cars. Like, oh, you like driving like new and weird stuff? I'm going to put you in a position, and by I'm going to put you, I'm talking to myself, where you have to do that so much that you don't even really like cars anymore. I can conclude that every Subaru ever modified turns out exactly the same. Don't matter what you do to an STI, bro. I don't care what your shock tuning is. I don't care what tires you got on that shit. I don't even care if you put the new rack in it. They all drive the same, bro. All of them. Just put on your flat bill, vape it up, and roll.
We're going to do 3 more questions from the audience, and then we have a raffle we're going to do.
Oh, I brought some swag. So I do advertising for like sort of silly and kind of fun products sometimes. I got some fun ads. I do, you know, powder that goes on your balls. I didn't bring any chassis, I'm sorry. But I do have some other fun stuff that we'll give away. Hell yeah, bro. Let's go. Here we go. Let's get it going. They wouldn't even let me drive that. He tried to be like, let's bring you over there in the F40. I was like, cool, let me drive. They're like, nope. Nope. That is fresh, though, isn't it?
We've seen your videos,
What do you want for that?
We know better.
What do you want for that? 1, 2, 1, 3?
It's not technically for sale, but it's worth about 1.8, 1.9.
Woo, boy, it's fresh. You beat the stock market if you buy one. If you buy something like that, right? I mean,
no doubt.
You can absolutely like. I doubled up. I doubled up in a year on a Skyline. I bought a Skyline GTR for $17,500 and sold it for $36,500 a year later. Hell yeah. You can really do well right now in cars. Because people are so afraid of the market, but like I know that's there. That's not going to go. That may go to 1.9. It may go to 1.7, but it's not going to go to 0. You know what I mean?
No way.
You know, there's no market crash on a Ferrari F40.
They're pretty much a blue chip stock. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Or even on a, you can. There's a lot of safe buys right now. You can anything with a good sounding engine and a stick shift. Wait, we get back there?
Yeah.
What's up?
Hey, so I brought you some swag. So,
Brought
but I
me
have
swag.
2 questions. For
All
you.
right.
Yeah, hopefully 2X is big enough.
For me? Yeah, I'm straight XX, son. Sweet.
So my first question is, when you eventually ship the Lexus to Dubai, and because Dubai has so many insanely rad supercars just laying around,
Yes.
are you going to bring something back?
Oh man, so the question is when I go to Dubai to ship the Lexus, I'm going to bring something back. Do not ever import a car from Dubai. Buying a car with a UAE title is worse than buying a car with a Florida title, which is also something you should never ever do. Right?
True that.
It's a rule. Anyone who buys and sells cars knows Florida is a big no-no. Dubai doesn't have anything like a Carfax or anything like that. So a lot of the cars that you see over there were not sold there new, but are being title washed because they had issues here. They have no problem with that in Dubai. So I don't ever recommend buying a car from there.
All right.
Fair though.
Second
It's
question.
tempting. They got some crazy Middle Eastern shit. You ever see the 1000 SELs? Everyone see the Mercedes 1000s? They were like the Maybachs of the 80s. They are hysterical. They are so, bro, here's what we're going to do, bro. We're going to put 8 TVs in the car. We're going to have 8 TVs. We're going to have gold badges. It's gold badges, gold BBS wheels, bro. We're going to have a body kit that's made of gold, bro. The leather is all going to be white, bro. It's going to be perfect. You have extra strength air conditioning system. You have AMG 6.9 engine. This will be beautiful. And then they spent like $500,000 on that in like 1989, and you find them for sale on their version of Craigslist, which I shit you not is called Dubizzle.com. Straight
make that up.
06, bro. 06 for shizzle with Dubizzle. Here, you guys want to have fun later? Write this down. Remember this. Go to dubizzle.com, pull up the car section, and search keyword gold. That's the rest of your night. You guys are done after this. So yeah, you can buy some crazy Middle Eastern shit.
My second question was, you're actually building kind of a dream that I've had forever in regards to your storage facility. So I was wondering if you could talk about what it took to make that happen.
Oh my God. Okay. So here's a nightmare that's been I decided to build this place 4 years ago. LA is a complete disaster regarding construction. They spent the entire first half of the 20th century dumping anything and everything just right into the ground. And if you buy a piece of dirt that was once, let's say I buy a building that was once a paint factory, and whatever their turpentine was that they cleaned their machinery with went down a drain, and there was a crack and it leaked into the ground. Now that leak has now spread underground and gone to the neighbors' houses over a period of 50 years. Every one of them can sue me for buying that property. That's Los Angeles, right? So now, two of the properties I looked at were owned by Howard Hughes, right? Howard Hughes Aircraft, yes. What a piece of shit. This guy dumped everything into the ground and caused a total environmental disaster in Culver City and Playa Vista. And so there's any number of ticking time bomb properties for sale there. So anyway, to get to the more glamorous part of it, I found a property that was Howard Hughes' administration building. No industry has ever been done there. The ground is absolutely filthy from what's been done everywhere else, but none of it was my fault. Yay! So now instead of being a defendant, I'm a plaintiff. Yeah! So the real estate is so expensive, and so in order to make the model work, you have to go vertical, down and up. So we're going one story down, and I bought 18 quad stackers. If anyone's ever been to Canepa, the quad stackers, 4 high, I bought 18 of those. So it's 42 feet tall, and it's 13,000 square feet, it's 42 feet tall, and we have parking for 150 cars. So I designed the building with them so that the ramp to go downstairs, you can drive a C6 Corvette ZR1 straight down it, not like this little thing you guys got here. None of these blocks, none of that. Straight down, brother. And it's like crazy security, crazy fire system. Like it's super, super wild. It's really next level. But it's taken 2013 we started the process. We opened in August 2019. Right now it's a big square hole of dirt. When you watch people with excavators working after like 3.5 years of pushing paper, it's like it's the most satisfying feeling ever. Digging.
Did you ever get a shot at one of them? You ever get to
Hell
ask?
yeah. When you pay the bills, they let you run all of that shit. I got to run a Bobcat. The best was the demo because there was a building there. They let me knock it down with the excavator.
Sweet.
Oh my God, it was glorious. It was so good because excavators are so fun. They're really easy. And when you're doing demo, precision is not required. And so it's just, and the building comes down like paper. It was the greatest. There's a place in Vegas called Dig This, if anyone's ever been. It's like fantasy construction camp. I really recommend it. It's like the $300 and you get to run a bulldozer and an excavator. It's so
That sounds
great.
awesome.
It's so great when you don't have to do it for 65 hours a week for minimum wage. Best automotive events. So I asked Larry Chen, the very famous photographer, my friend, about that, and he named 5 events I've never been to, and he's been to all of them. So I think I'll recycle his list because it's better than mine. Pikes Peak, Goodwood, Bonneville, Pebble Beach Concourse, which I have been to, and specifically Monterey Historics, and shout out to Woodward Dream Cruise, I think. Woodward Dream Cruise is good. I like Woodward Dream Cruise. It's really delightfully. Woodward Dream Cruise is great because the people and the cars don't match. That's the best thing. I was at Woodward Dream Cruise last year, and I saw like a 6'4" bouncing down Woodward, and it was the two sweetest old white people. And it was like, Seymour, I'm getting turned on. You know, it was so great. That's why I drove a Rolls Royce at Dream Cruise last year, an orange with a white interior Rolls Royce. I got free weed. You know, if you drive an orange Rolls Royce through the hood, people will actually throw weed at you. That shit is crazy. That's awesome.
Let's do one more question, and then we'll get to the swag.
If I don't answer your question, I'm not going anywhere. Feel free to approach and ask me questions later. But is anyone holding a microphone?
Yeah.
He with the stick wins. Is that Kevin?
No, this is David. We were talking earlier.
David. Oh, hey, what's up?
Yeah, I have one on behalf of this gentleman and then one on my own. I don't know if that's all right.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say. Come again?
One on behalf of my new friend here.
Oh, on behalf of your new friend.
A quick one on behalf of my friend here.
Asking for a friend, right?
Yeah. He wants to know what the going rate for a spot in your storage facility is.
Oh man. Okay. The answer is basically what I'm doing is real estate, and it's commensurate with the prices in the local market. It's going to be $1,000 a month, starting. Yeah, it's going to be pricey. But you know what? Like it doesn't. We're doing a thing that doesn't exist. The reason that I'm building this isn't so I can fleece people out of their money. That is not the goal. And if it were possible to build a facility,
apparently it's more expensive in the Bay. That's what he said here.
What?
Apparently it's a lot more expensive in the Bay.
It's more expensive in the Bay? All right. Yes. I'll undercut San Francisco. It's basically like it's like Midtown Manhattan pricing. Yeah, but you know what? You're in a build to suit facility and you've got me. That's the thing.
Are you taking a waiting list already?
I have a waiting list. Yes. And I think it's like 100 and some. We have more people on the waiting list than we do spaces at the moment. Yeah,
that's a good spot for you.
I don't have a facility. Thank you. I'm super stoked too. I haven't spent. Here's the best part. I've spent money on a shocking amount of things to build this. I had to build the second closest fire hydrant to my building. The closest one was not close enough. So LA says we need you to build another one. Okay, where? Here. Can't do it there, there's wires. Here, can't do it there, there's wires. Here, can't do it there, there's wires. Okay, over there, but that's further than the one we have. Okay. So I had to build the second closest fire hydrant to my building. And I have to shut down Centinela for 3 days to do it. So if anyone lives in West LA, I am sorry. Building is nuts. I've never had an education like building, and it's, oh my God, it's brutal. So just barging through all of it, being the first guy to make it through LA and actually build something is I'm fairly proud of. It'll be, everyone, when we're open, come check it out because it's fucking cool.
What's it going to be called?
West Side Collector Car Storage. I like things to be named what you're getting. Here's where it is. Here's what we do. Keep it very simple. And we'll have a cool podcast studio. I'm building a whole new podcast studio, soundproof room, so you won't hear gunshots and sirens anymore. You know, you guys laughed. There was a drive-by during a show that was recording in my studio. So soundproof from now on, and it's gonna have big windows that overlook the cars like a big Matchbox set, but in real life. It's gonna be awesome. You want to kill it? Should we call the game?
There was one more that I can.
Oh, there was a follow. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, let's do one more.
You can have your follow-up. Let's go.
I was going to say, on behalf of the broke kids like me, when you don't have a sports car or a car that's really worth taking out on those windy roads you were mentioning earlier, what would you recommend doing for fun?
If you don't have your own car,
or a car that doesn't handle or isn't worth taking
honestly,
on the back roads,
like for driving wise. So, I mean, I'm not going to lie and say that motorsport and driving activities don't cost money. Like, they definitely do. You know, there's stuff like Turo out there, which is not a perfect system, but Turo is an app that's sort of like Airbnb for cars, if people don't know about Turo. It's not perfect by any means, but You can go out, you can get a Miata or an older Boxster, or you can get quite a bit of sports car for a day for not so much money, and some of them have unlimited miles. A dude I know just got like Andrew Collins from Jalopnik just got like an '08 Range Rover for 2 weeks for like $300. And he's going off-roading with it. He's going camping with it, and the owner doesn't care. You know, like I saw a modified Evo 10 with like 450 wheel for like $120 a day. Now, $120 isn't nothing, but you know, if you don't have your own car, there are more options than ever before for experiencing sports cars. And you know, online simulator racing is super fun too. I mean, you know, that costs a little bit of money as well, but you know, we've got more cheap racing than we've ever had. I mean, even cheap racing is still expensive, but you know, you can buy a seat in a Lemons car and do a 90-minute stint at Lemons, you know, in a real race for like, I don't know, $300-400.
We have some Lemons drivers out in the audience today.
Anyone race Lemons here? No? A couple? Chump car? Anyone do Chump? No? I do AER, which is American Endurance Racing. It's a sort of East Coast series. It's like a half a bump up from Chump, but you know, racing I think is as or more affordable than it's ever been, and so
I think it's also more accessible.
Yeah. Shall we take this outside? Or we got more?
We're gonna do the raffle up here.
Delta's coming. Oh, we want to raffle some stuff? I'll take one more while they're preparing the raffle. Hand up right there. Pass the man the mic. No mic. Straight, shout it out. Thank you. Oh my God. Do you do one? Don't try, do. Oh my God, dude. Bro, the thing about the internet and YouTube and podcasting and whatever is it's open. It's entirely democratic. There's zero barrier to entry. If you have a little bit of money for some very basic equipment, and I do mean very basic, and if you have the will to sit around and talk about something, there is very, very little reason that you shouldn't do it. I use Shout Engine. You know, I didn't actually set up my original podcast. Chris did it at the time, but I just reset up my watch show that I'm doing right now. No shit, it took me 20 minutes. And so if you got something to say and you got a microphone, just do it. I mean, just do it. There's a lot of people that ask me about step 10 or step 50 or step 1,000, and step 1 is go. You know, that's really all there is to it. You know, if you want to talk about equipment, we can talk out there about equipment, and I'll give you recommendations or whatever. But the answer is find something to record your voice and go. It's open. It's fully open. Is that it? That's it, folks. Thanks for coming down.
Once again, I want to thank Luxury Motor Cars for presenting this, bringing Matt Farah to us.
The after show is going to be getting that thing out of here. So y'all stick around for the after show. It's going to be crunchy.
Yeah, that's tomorrow. I also want to thank Todd English for hosting and emceeing and carrying this along.
Todd was awesome. He was the man.
And most especially to Matt Farah for coming out to Sacramento.
And Delta! Thank you guys for coming out. I appreciate it. I'm happy to talk to any of you about further topics outside or whatever. If you want pictures, I'm very self-conscious. I don't offer myself for pictures because I'm always afraid people are gonna be like, ew, no. But if you do want one, I'm absolutely happy to take one with you. Oh yeah, we'll do it with the F40. Okay, so if there's a line around the F40, please don't touch anyone. If anyone doesn't know, here's how you approach a car-to-car show. Yeah, seriously. Hey Matt, why do people let you drive their cars? Because when I walk up and look at them, I do this. All right, cool. Let's shut her down. Thanks, guys.